Hello, friends. One of the things that is generally true about being here in the sanctuary is that it's quiet, but that is not true today. All around we have the sound of banging hammers and saws as we replace the wood that has been damaged over the time. We have to remind ourselves that this building is almost 50 years old, and as things left to themselves simply fall apart, never together, we have to actively be working on taking care of it. And that is one of the blessings of our capital campaign, that there was money beyond what simply was needed to pay off the mortgage that also could address and conserve this building for our continued use in worship when we're able to continue to use it in worship. And that is something that I know is wearing as we wait. It's a challenge. It's a challenge because we're not able to come together, and that is difficult. There's just simply no way around it. And the news this week that we got from our bishops that we will wait even longer just adds to the challenge. I'm talking with people this week. There seems to be a shift away from wondering when things are going to get back to normal to simply lamenting the changes that they feel and recognize are part of the new normal. People are getting a little tired of doing all of their Zoom meetings, and while they appreciate being able to FaceTime family and friends or use Google Duo or WhatsApp, it's not the same as being in person, and I feel that keenly. The people of God have always made room to recognize not only the joys and wonders of being people of faith, but also those times where it just hurts, where we don't quite understand what's going on, where even it seems that our cries fall on deaf ears and that God is not paying attention. I point you to the section of the Psalms that are known as the Psalms of Lament. They're not a particular series, so you'll have to look up some of those numbers yourself. But those Psalms of Lament come in Psalms of community lament and Psalms of individual lament, recognizing that there are times where individuals suffer, and then there's time when whole communities suffer. And while we have been spared the ravages that we've seen in so many other parts of this country and the world, it doesn't mean that the losses, our teens having to end their school years remotely and make up new graduation rituals, weddings that take place via Zoom, family times that simply can't or don't happen because it's not safe. All of those pieces are sad. They hurt. They leave us questioning, sometimes even to the point of despair. The good news, if you can say good news in that face, is that we're never alone. The question of why does suffering occur is a profound theological question that I'm not going to go into very far, but know if you're asking those questions, you are in good stead. One of the pieces and the answers for me has been recognizing that God gave us free will, and that free will has led to brokenness in relationships and brokenness in creation. And in God's wisdom, God didn't simply set it all aright. And that part is hard to understand. We can stand with Job and ask those questions. And also hear with Job God's response about where were we when God laid the foundations of the world. Not particularly perhaps satisfying answers, but pointing to our limited vision. What we do know, God chose to enter the creation in the person of Jesus Christ. He lived, and he suffered, and he died. And that means that God knows what it is to suffer as a human being. God knows our griefs not only from seeing them, but from the inside. And that does make a difference. God is not standing outside watching. God is right here with us. And while we don't often get answers to why, we do have an answer to how. How will we get through this? By grace and together, even physically distancing together. We will walk with God, who continues to prepare the way for us, stand beside us, and protect us from all that threatens. So I encourage you this week, if it seems to be overwhelming, all of the changes that you've been asked to make and the losses that have been accumulating as the different things that you've looked forward to didn't happen, and deadlines come and go, and still it feels like nothing changes, to listen to the words of the psalmist, to know that there have been others who have walked this rocky ground, and that by God's grace we are never alone, and that makes all the difference. We are in this together, and together we will continue walking physically distant until it's safe for us to come back and rejoice and celebrate as a community.